All right, let's call to order the Tuesday, October 29th Andover City Council meeting. We will, I'm sorry, Brian's obviously still out of town, if that's the case. All right, we'll call it to order. Start off with roll call to my left. Caroline.
Caroline Hale, council member.
Troy Tabor, council member.
Ben Lawrence, Mayor.
Clark C.R. Nelson, council member.
Rich Schneider, council member.
Mike Warrington, council member.
Mike Keller, Police Chief.
Donna Davis, Chief Financial Officer.
Chad Russell, Fire Chief.
Andrew Kovar in for JT Klaus, City Attorney.
Les Mangus, Director, Public Works.
Susan Renner, City Clerk.
Jennifer McCausland, City Administrator.
All right, item 3 is invocation. I don't believe we have chaplain here this evening. Troy, you've been so gracious to help us in the past. Would you mind doing so again?
I will. Thank you for asking. Please bow your heads. Jehovah God, please be with us tonight as we discuss the current happenings and the future of Andover. Turn our hearts and minds and thoughts as we talk and as we make decisions for the whole community. Please be especially with those that are outside today and tonight, that you'll be with them and help them to find food, love, and shelter. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
You stand with us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item number 6 is the acceptance of the agenda. Why are you looking at me? What? I figured. Item number 6 is acceptance of the agenda. I know we have some new bid tabulations, the bids that have been added to the packet. Is there anything else?
This afternoon, those were added, as well as there was one item that seemed to fall off the agenda but has been added back on, and that is 8.8. It is on your consent agenda, but it was included in the revised agenda you got this afternoon.
And also the addition.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by CR, second by Mike to accept the agenda as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7. I believe we have some awards this evening.
Mike Roosevelt, your fire chief. Of course, our station address, 911 North Andover Road. Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for this opportunity to be here this evening to recognize some members of our Andover community who have done some good works. October, among other things, as we know, is Fire Safety Month. And I was privileged to be with you earlier this month at the beginning of Fire Prevention Week, where you made your proclamation committing Andover to the proactive safety and commemorating the occurrence of the Great Chicago Fire 148 years ago to the day, on the day that we made that the proclamation. Just today I received some information statistics nationwide that there's been 1,916 residential structure fire fatalities so far this year, 59 in the last week. And I don't know about you, but those numbers are fairly sobering to me. And as our Fire Prevention Month draws to a close, it's only fitting that here in Andover we honor a couple of folks from our community that saved a life from the threat of fire. Ladies, would you please join me up here for a moment? July 26th, 2019 began just as any other Midwestern summer day, warm and breezy with scattered clouds, and the only measurable rainfall had been at the beginning of the month. The previous week had seen multiple consecutive days over 100 degrees. The set up situation for rapid fire growth should a fire start. Shortly before noon on that Friday, that is exactly what happened in one of our residential neighborhoods. At 11:52 a.m., the Andover 911 Communication Center answered the emergency call from the Andover Veterinary Clinic and Boarding Kennel. Staff were reporting a structure fire on Hillcrest Court, which is a street behind the kennel complex. Bree Nelson and Skyla Thomas Frazier joining me here this evening. Both were working at the kennel that day While exercising dogs at the kennel previously, they had seen a young mother and a child out playing in the backyard of this home, and they had seen them earlier that morning as well. Believing that they had been inside, that they may have still been inside and unaware of or trapped by the fire, the ladies were compelled to act. They jumped a chain link fence at the back of the kennel complex, found their way through a wooden privacy fence separating the two properties, and made their way to the front of the burning building. At the front of the building, they found the home to be a duplex, doubling the probability that someone might be inside. Together, they beat on the front door of one of the dwellings, where they awoke a young man, who is also here with us this evening, Tyler. And he was able to safely evacuate from the home structure, barefoot, rattled, but unharmed. Bree and Skylar then moved to the other half of the duplex, where they gained entry through the front door and began a search for the mother and child that they believed were still inside. As they entered, the fire conditions were continuing to build at the back of the house, and the smoke conditions continued to deteriorate inside the structure. Hearing no responses to their alerting attempts, they exited the structure with some minor injuries to themselves for their heroic efforts. Less than 4 minutes after the 911 call, fire units arrived on scene, and the ladies gave information to the responders that could help us to search through that structure for individuals that may have still been inside, and ultimately bring the fire under control. We finally did learn that those occupants had left the home before the fire had begun, and they were safe elsewhere. Together, these ladies' extraordinary efforts and heroic actions saved a life that day, and to that end, Andover Fire Rescue and the City of Andover would like to present you both with the Andover Fire Rescue Lifesaving Award. And we have both a certificate No, don't go away. Congratulations so much. Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'd like to offer the podium just momentarily to them or Tyler's family. Go ahead. Ladies, would you like to say anything? You girls say anything.
Keep it short because I just got my wisdom teeth taken out, so it hurts. But thank you guys for inviting us here today. Thank you. And I'm glad you guys are okay and everything worked out for you guys.
She said it all.
Thank you, ladies.
Happy that we helped.
I just want to give you guys a hug and say thank you, how much we appreciate what you did for us. You saved my son, really. That means a lot to us. So thank you so much. And thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
Andover Fire Department, for helping us and being there that day. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you so much.
All right, we will move on to item number 8, which is the consent agenda. You guys in the back, you don't have to stay if you don't want to. That's items 8.1 through 8.9. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Troy, second by Caroline to approve the consent agenda as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, South Fray Road right-of-way. I believe we have an ordinance in front of us.
If you'll remember a year or so ago when we annexed the former salvage yard property and the McCam properties out on US 54, we were instructed by the city attorney to avoid this road dedication for South Fray Road until we had the consent of the county commissioners. We've been to the county commission and got that consent, and now we're asking to annex that road. It's surrounded on all four sides by the city.
Sounds simple.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance annexing the right-of-way commonly known as South Frey Road.
Second.
Motion by Greg, second by Mike to approve the ordinance as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10.
Mr. Mayor, before we go on to item 10, I believe we inadvertently missed the public forum. It does appear that it was inserted between invocation and pledge, which is not where that typically goes. So that probably caused it, but I think we may have some people here to speak.
Okay. Yeah, I glossed over that. You'd think after a couple hundred times of doing this, I wouldn't have forgot that. But yeah, let's add the public forum here, and we'll open it up and ask if anybody would like to speak. Yes, sir. You come up to the podium, give your name and address for the record.
Sorry
please.
to mess up the schedule. I
No,
just
no,
wanted
no,
to.
no, I messed it up.
No, that's all
You're
right.
good.
My name's Ryan Barkdahl. I'm with Andover Central Gridiron Club. I just wanted to come and personally thank you guys for allowing us to use the amphitheater for our community pep rally we had. It turned out to be a great success. We had great weather. We had a great turnout. So I just wanted to come and report to you that it was a really great community event. Everybody had a really wonderful time, and I keep getting a lot of feedback about wanting to have it again. And so I just wanted to thank you very much for letting us use that facility.
You have an estimate of how many were in attendance?
It's hard to estimate. I'm guessing well over 1,000 people, because we had two different sessions. We had a middle school session and a high school session because we had a high school choir concert that night, and so we had to kind of divide it up and wait for all the high school activities to get over before we could.
Right.
We didn't want to leave anybody out. So with the comings and going of people, it was well over 1,000 people attended it.
That's
so,
awesome.
And I think next year it'll be maybe even double, because the kids that didn't come the next day at school, just the reports were they were all like, I can't, everybody was talking about how much fun they had, and the other kids are like, well, what did I miss, And so on the social media stuff, it went on for days, and so I think it'll be even bigger next year. So thanks again for letting us use that facility, and we really appreciate it. It was a perfect venue for that for that activity.
Certainly.
They had an outstanding DJ that night.
It was phenomenal. It was perfect. He killed time while we were waiting for all the
Yeah.
high school kids to get there.
Made coaches dance.
I mean, it was everybody involved from fourth grade football all the way up to the varsity level throughout the whole community. So it was a really fun experience to bring everybody together.
Good deal.
So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Would anyone else like to speak? All right, we will close that public forum and move on to item 10.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm happy to report to you at 11 o'clock this morning, we had a very successful bid opening for both the temporary notes as well as the Series A GO bonds. We had 8 individuals or companies bid on the GO bonds and 5 on the temp notes. And it is a lot, and we got incredible rates, 1.6% on the temp notes and 2% on the GO bonds. So we were quite pleased with the results of those sales. If you have any questions, bond counsel is represented tonight by Andrew, and so if you have any technical questions, you're more than welcome to ask those. The motions are before you tonight.
Sure. Yeah, I can just make motions. Go right after it. I like to read unless somebody wanted to. Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award the purchase of GOB Series A 2019 bonds in the amount of $7,525,000 to Country Club Bank at net interest cost of $1.6793 million and 13 cents.
Second?
Motion by Troy and second by CR to approve the GO bond Series A to Country Club Bank as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance authorizing the issuance of Series A 2019 general obligation bonds of the City of Andover, Kansas.
Second.
Motion by Troy, second by Caroline to approve the ordinance as presented. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, this is for resolution. I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution describing the form and details of Series A 2019 General Obligation Bonds of the City of Andover, Kansas.
Second.
Motion by Troy, second by Caroline to approve the resolution as presented. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Oops, I moved it. The next one's for temporary notes. I'd like to make a motion to award the purchase of Series A 2019 temporary improvement notes in the amount of $3.84 million to Hutchinson, Shockey, Early & Co. at the net interest cost of $177,404.27.
Second.
Motion by Troy, second by Greg to award the purchase of the Series A 2019 as presented. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And the final resolution, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of $3.84 million in the City of Andover Series A 2019 temporary improvement notes as presented.
Second.
Motion by Troy, second by Caroline to approve the resolution concerning the Series A 2019 temporary notes as presented. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I should have mentioned this is something you are probably all interested in. The refinancing did result in a savings of $412,712. So I think that generally you are interested in that piece of information as well. So sorry
Read
to
that today.
left that out.
Question. So does that cover any kind of like IRB type situations too, when there's different interest rates on things or not? Is that a different?
Would you like to answer?
IRBs are an entirely different creature
Yeah.
than GO bonds.
Right, but is there not still some kind of an, I don't know, interest
You
rate?
have two funds
assigned
for
to
those
them?
accounts, I believe is what he's asking, or are they all accumulated within one fund?
The IRBs don't run through our funds at all. How they work it out with the bank is entirely up to the business.
Oh, we don't, even though it's on us, it's not
We're just a conduit for IRBs.
Sorry, what she's pointing out is that IRBs are paid by whoever the private company / borrower is
So we
on
would
that.
never want to go back and see if they could lower their rate.
That would be the responsibility of whoever that borrower is. And they frequently might come and ask for a refinancing to lower their rates, but the city doesn't pay any of that, so,
I think that's happened maybe once
yeah.
in about 20 years.
Okay, thank you. Very helpful.
So the real question is, what do you do with the $411,000 in savings? That's the question you want to ask.
That is used to help pay for city portions of projects.
Right. So any refunding that you do that results in net savings or net gains, by lowering your interest rates, our payments are less, and that is taken directly off whatever the city's share of any particular project may be. So these are good things. Does that answer your question?
It does.
All
Hopefully
right.
it'll last a long time.
Move on to item number 11, on-call engineering agreement.
As you know, from time to time, we need some engineering consultant assistance on projects, smaller projects, maybe just to review a set of plans or give us some advice on things. For instance, the warrant analysis for a signal at Harry and Andover Road, or to review traffic reports from the USD 385 projects, those type of things. And rather than have independent contracts on those small arrangements, we've fashioned an on-call agreement. Our first was back in 2018. We limit the aggregate amount of the agreement to $25,000, and then we're allowed to take down up to $5,000 increments on different smaller projects. And what we have here tonight is just a renewal of that
Mr.
agreement from back in 2018.
Mayor? I move to approve the on-call engineering agreement with Trans Systems in an aggregate amount of $25,000 and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion by Caroline, second by Mike to approve the agreement with Trans Systems as presented. Further discussion.
Mr. Mayor? So Les, is it worth it to have the $25,000 agreement with them and have them be on call? Since we've only done it a couple of years now. Is it
Oh,
something that's-
absolutely.
and why
You
so?
know, the school projects, we've used bits and pieces of this agreement on different phases, on the central campus, on the Andover High campus, and the Andover Road improvements, and analysis of the access control on the new Meadowlark site. We've just kind of taken it down in small pieces over the course of about 2 years.
And just for clarification, this is not guaranteeing that we pay Transystem $25,000.
No.
This is as the jobs come up.
As
and
it's
you all
needed.
may do that up to $25,000, right?
Yes.
So it's not like we're paying them unless they do something.
And it is based on hourly rates with overhead.
But what it does guarantee is that we go to them and don't go to anyone else
For small stuff.
for small stuff.
Small jobs.
And, you know, for emergency services as well, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, were we to need that. For instance, we used them on a adjustment of the pavement marking at Andover Road and US 54. You know, we've always had trouble with the alignment of the crossing traffic, southbound traffic. They helped us out there. It's just those very small items that it's cumbersome to have a separate contract every time.
I think they've proven themselves to be reliable. All right, we had a motion by Caroline, a second by Mike. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12. We have some parkland dedication this evening from the Heritage.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, we do have members here tonight from Lee's Properties LLC. I don't know if they'd like to say anything or not, but it's a good news item in that they are formally dedicating just over 8 acres of parkland. We talked about that, I believe, at the last meeting, maybe the one prior, as part of the Heritage development at US 54 in Yorktown approximately. And it will be 3 separate parks within that development. Gentlemen, if any of you want to say anything, feel free, or if anybody's got questions, be happy to have that.
But we're excited. You don't have to say anything if you don't want.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to accept the dedication of parkland from Lease Properties LLC in the Heritage Edition as presented.
Second.
Motion by CR, second by Greg to accept the dedication as presented. Further discussion.
Mr. Mayor, this is the piece in between the residential section, is that right?
I think it's, yes, well, south.
Okay,
South.
so it's the,
Are
Can we-
you referring
can
to
we
the
describe
the
this
somewhat
area?
linear park
It
areas?
just kind of goes all the way down.
okay.
Is that the portion
a
you're
picture of it?
speaking about?
I was looking at the exhibit that we have here, and I'm not sure if it quite tells exactly the area.
I think the difficult part is that one piece of this is not yet platted, so it's difficult from the meets and bounds to really be able to see it. And so I believe we're really talking about Reserve E, but you do not have that clearly. That's not depicted on the exhibit that you have in your packet. So I apologize for that. If you want to fill in a little bit, but there is the portion, I think what you're referring to, Mr. Warrington, is the long linear park that does kind of differentiate some of the housing from the commercial.
But the 3 different areas, so the legal description is correct.
Yes, yes,
For the north,
descriptions
south,
are correct.
and the Heritage Square.
And they are structured a little bit different because some of that is platted and some is not yet platted.
Okay.
And Mr. Jones may have some further information.
Jerry Jones, representing leased properties, and you're correct, I saw that in the exhibit, it doesn't show the whole dedication.
Right.
The legal description breaks it into 3 parts. The part that's depicted in your exhibit will be part of the first phase, and does is the linear park that connects up from Douglas down to about the middle of the project. And then the other 2 parcels will be part of PUD that'll be coming back to you here in a couple weeks. So that's in process, but those parcels need to be in the public domain in order to be part of the tax increment financing project. So that's the point of doing it now.
Okay. Thank you.
Further discussion? All right, I believe that was a motion by you and a second by Greg. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I was an aye that didn't get in there, but I'm not opposed.
Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to make a quick comment that we sincerely appreciate the dedications and hope things go well as time goes along.
Item 13, traffic calming devices.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Chief Keller can jump in at any time if I misstate something related to the actual traffic stats. But in the past, I have been personally contacted, and I know the police department's been contacted by residents and HOA board members from Reflection Lakes regarding speeding traffic along, particularly Minnehaha. The police department went out and did some traffic studies, checked some speeds. They had about 4% of all the vehicles traveling were 10 miles an hour or more over the posted speed limit. They then came back and did 6 days, I believe, of stepped up enforcement, I guess would be the proper wording for that, and wrote a lot of tickets, and then they went away for a little while intentionally to kind of see what would happen with the traffic, and then they came back and checked the speed again, and the numbers were still down on how much speeding was going on. It went down about 75% of the traffic that was going over 10 miles an hour over, went down about 75%, but it's still a little over 1% of all the traffic was traveling in excess of 10 miles an hour over the posted speed limit. I went to a board meeting with Mr. Keller of HOA board meeting, and we presented some options, and particularly speed tables. In fact, Mr. Slade is in the audience today, and he's one of the individuals that I consulted on some traffic consulting and kind of helped direct us towards speed tables, and did some research, and there are some rubber speed tables that you can put out. And a speed table, in essence, is, in this particular case, is about a 3-inch tall elevation, and it's this particular one is, I think, is like 13 feet long, and you go up on it and you drive on it and you drive back down. It's not a speed bump, it's not a speed hump, and then thus they call it a speed table because you actually drive up on top of it and flatten out and then go back off. One really won't work in this particular instance. It'll take a series of them. They're particularly concerned in one area about where the lakes are. Where their lakes are, all back to Andover Road is where they see the most excessive speeding in their opinion. And so we told them that we were doing research and we're looking for some pricing on it. At the time, I didn't have the best pricing. At the time, it was about $20,000 for a pair of them, rubber ones. The reason I want to do rubber is I really don't want to go out there and build something that the residents may not want after they get it in there, because they're going to drive over it every day, or that doesn't really do the job. And then, so what I'm proposing, and I think the board was receptive to this also, is that we purchase 2 rubber speed tables from Rubber Form, I believe is the name of the company. Install them. We will check speed prior to installing them, after we install them, and verify that the actual locations, since they are movable, are in the right location, and that they work. And then when we go through a resurfacing project, we can pull these out and build permanent ones if that's what is desired at that time. then we can reutilize these in temporary traffic calming measures in other locations. It'd be a tool in our toolbox to deal with some of these situations. Some of these are short-term situations where I think something like this would work, and then you could pull it off and you could pull it away and it'd probably be fine for a long time. In this particular instance, you have a collector street, which is a wider street. You have a fairly straight run. You have a connection between Andover Road and over towards the Far Hall Center and the YMCA. So you have people traveling through the neighborhood that aren't necessarily residents of the neighborhood. And I'm not sure that any short-term and then take it down and remove it, traffic calming measure would have a long-term effect. I think the traffic would revert back to the speeds that they are going to travel, which is apparently in excess of 10 miles an hour for a large majority. So we're here to request, and I did verify with Donna that there was funds and funds available for this purchase. It's not actually a budgeted item, but there was funds available for this purchase, and we're just asking for council's permission to purchase these and install these and give it a shot.
Question?
Go ahead.
Interesting concept. Could you explain how these work? Is this a case of only one wheel, like on, or so how is it a sensation that the driver feels even though it's not a speed bump? I understand that, so it's not a jerky thing, but is it, how do they work?
The whole car actually will go up, both front tires on a conventional car will go up on, flatten out, then the back tires will come up on, and then shortly after the back tire gets on, front tires will go off, and then the back tires will go off. And you have to have them in series, because if you just do one, what they're doing is slow down for the one, get over the other one, and they're going to hammer it and make up their lost time. And you probably have created as bad or worse situation. So we think, in this particular case, think 2 will work, but if 2 doesn't work, then we'll have an idea, and then when we go to build it, we can build a third, but we'll know what's happening in between them.
Okay, so it's not the single table that slows them down, because basically it's just about the length of a car. And so you have like 3 of them in a row.
They will slow down because going up on it at 35 miles an hour is not going to be comfortable for them.
Oh, okay, so did you say it was like only 3 inches?
It's only about 3 inches tall, but it makes a difference. It's got a pretty good incline going up.
Oh, okay.
So that you get 2 in each time. You get 1 coming up, 1 going off. But it won't damage vehicles like a speed bump will, and you don't have that liability from that aspect.
Rick, what is the effect, if any, on snow removal?
Well, supposedly they're snow plowable, and that's another reason why I want to put in something that's not, I don't want to go out and just build a, $40,000 worth of construction out there and build these things and find out that we can't plow the streets with them or whatever. But according to this company, they are snow plowable. They can be left in permanently, and we'll have to kind of evaluate that.
Rick, I have a question for you. So when I've seen these before, and I think it's a great idea. I used to live in that neighborhood, and my yard backed up on Meadowlark, and I saw how fast people drove all the time. So I think this is a good idea. Are you going to have signage in front and back?
Yes.
100 feet in front, saying speed table ahead.
We're gonna, there is some guidance on some signs, and we do have our own sign machine, so we will be making signs to put up before, at the same time we put in the actual speed tables.
Would you also have like a marker on either side of it,
So
showing where it is when you have those snow removal days? You know where it's located.
So what we could do that, and these particular ones are just slightly narrower, because this is one of our wider streets, are slightly narrower, because I wanted to have ones that we could then take in the future and move to other locations. So we'll have some tubulars or something out there, and that'll give us an indication where they're at too.
Okay.
One more question. Is this only going to be in one direction? Are we only going for the westbound, or is it going to go westbound and eastbound?
They go clear across the road, basically, yes.
So either direction, the speeding is occurring both ways. It's not just a...
Yeah, so they have arrows on them for the oncoming side, kind of gives them a visual indication that it's coming to. And so it's not black on black where you can't see it. They have white arrows to kind of call the driver's attention to it. We would put signage in front of it also. But there's arrows for each side, and it's this particular table is 22 feet wide.
So it crosses the entire road, and it's possible that someone could be passing a car that's also on the table at the same time. They could be going in different directions?
Yes.
There's a good diagram, Caroline, on your packet, page 7. It says proposed speed table, 22.5 feet wide by 13 by 4 inches tall.
Oh, that picture's good, yeah.
So my only, I guess, concern would be precedent, and we've had several other streets now that have asked for speed bumps or police officers to sit there or whatever. So I saw that the percentages were 4% of the traffic was actually 10 miles an hour or more over, and it dropped it when you guys started giving tickets to 1.3, but then it went back up. Is that what I'm reading right here? No?
I'm not sure. The gist of what Rick had was accurate, but I'm believing the first time we did the study was in early July, and we did it for about 6 days. There was about 12,500 cars that went through there during that time, and about 8% of the cars were going at least 10 miles an hour or more.
12,000 a day?
No, during that 6-day period. You know, from time to time over the years, we've gotten these complaints from citizens, from neighborhoods, and we've gone in with our trailer and we've run a study like we did here. We've gone in with the trailer closed down, so it's not all lit up and people don't even know what it's there for, just so we can see what's really happening. And just about all the other times we've done that, we've come out and found out, yeah, there's an occasional speeder in those neighborhoods. This study was not that case. 8% of the cars going through there were speeding. And there's obviously a problem there. This was unlike any other one that we've done in Lakeside, Onewood, a number of neighborhoods that we've done the same thing. With this, we went about a month, half, maybe 2 months, where we were, about a month and a half, we were in there writing tickets. We wrote about 120 speeding tickets, and I'm thinking about 107 of them were non-Andover residents. Wow. Somewhere in that neighborhood, don't hold me exactly to that number, but a good significant portion of them were not Andover residents. They're going to the Y. They're coming from Wichita, Rose Hill, coming through there.
Basketball.
So then we backed off to see what our traffic enforcement can only do so much. So we backed off for a little bit, about a week or so. Didn't have any officers really in the area like we had. Ran a study again. So our efforts did have an impact. It went down to about 3%, but still 3% of the cars are speeding. So our efforts, the tickets we wrote had some impact, but there's still more to be done here in this one.
This is a different road, as like you were saying, it's a main connector from Andover to Yorktown. And if you're putting in any maps, if you're coming from anywhere south of town, it will map you through on that road over to the Y. So it doesn't map you up to 400 and back down Yorktown. It's going to let you go straight through the neighborhood. So that's why you're getting a lot of extra traffic through there, because they are going to the Y, the Schapaugh Center, the soccer fields, to the school that's over there too. So I think this is a good idea.
And just also, you mentioned the Schapaugh Center there. Both times we did this study, Schapaugh Center didn't really have anything going on that weekend during that period of time. Both times.
Imagine if you did.
Absolutely.
Was that a motion, Mike?
Yes, it is. Make a motion to authorize staff to purchase 2 speed tables from Rubber Form Recycled Products LLC, Lockport, New York, in the amount of $17,572.24.
Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Greg to approve the Public Works purchase here as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm assuming our street crew is installing those?
Yes, we'll install them.
Item 14, Employee Handbook.
Mr. Mayor and Council, as you are aware, earlier this year we engaged Gallagher to do a comprehensive study, compensation study for the city. They shared with you at your September workshop the results of that. And before you tonight are some revisions to personnel policy that were pointed out from that study that appeared to be some disparities. We talked at length about these last night, but just for the public knowledge, they relate to changing the holidays where the city is off and adding 4 additional days, but in exchange taking away 2 what we have called floating holidays, so we're netting 2 additional. As well as increasing the vacation schedule across the board for all employees and all years of service, with the goal of being at average or what other market municipalities are doing, are what we would consider competitors when it comes to recruiting job and maintaining job applicants in our employment. The salary schedule did add a couple pay class levels. We went from 11 to 13. Again, we spoke about that at length last night. And then additional before you tonight are just a few housekeeping items that we haven't really spent time talking about at length, but are relatively what I would consider insignificant. We had an error in how many hours the police department works in a work period. It said 84. It should have been 85. It should have been 85. For as long as Donna's been here and doing payroll, so that was just an error. Funeral leave policy, we did not include, I believe it was daughter-in-law and son-in-law, yet we included everyone else's in-laws and we included your daughter or your son, so for whatever reason we just hadn't caught that family member, which did not seem to hold with the spirit of the policy. That was on the bereavement if I didn't say that. And then return to work, we just had listed our carrier for work comp insurance. It really wasn't necessary in how the policy read, and we did change work comp carriers January 1, so it was actually an error at this point. Be happy to answer any questions about any of those policies.
Mr. Mayor.
Troy.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposed changes to the employee handbook, including but not limited to a revised vacation and holiday policy, as well as an adjusted salary schedule, all to be effective January 1st of 2020.
Second.
By Troy, second by Caroline, to approve the revisions to the employee handbook as presented. Further discussion.
I have a question for you, Jenny. Is there anything, I didn't see it in here, or maybe this is something later on, do we have something for maternity leave?
Yes, so the way that we've handled maternity leave here is that all of our employees do have a short-term disability plan, and that's whether, it doesn't matter what position you have, police and fire, their short-term disabilities through the standard. All non-police and fire is through Jefferson Financial. And so through that, which the city pays a portion of the premium, employees that go on maternity leave, at least the mothers, now the fathers do not get that. This is not for paternity, but maternity leave, depending on how your delivery goes and what your doctor says, you get either 6 or 8 weeks of short-term disability for that time. What that does is that allows the policy to pay 2/3 of the employee's wages during that time, so they can leave sick or vacation balances to make up that other third. It allows the balance to go a lot longer. In accordance with Kansas state law and FMLA, we do honor 12 weeks of maternity leave, but the leave balances are what they are. So sometimes employees, myself included, take some of that time without pay if that's how they choose to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we had a motion by Troy and a second by Caroline. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 15, I would like to appoint Brian and Greg to serve on the annual salary review committee this year. Just like your blessing on that. I try to spread it around as best I can, but I don't think, you haven't done it before, have you?
No.
I don't think Brian has either, so.
You need a motion?
I do, if you would.
I would move to approve the appointment of Brian Schwan and Greg Schneider to the Annual Salary Review Committee.
Second.
All right, motion by Caroline, second by Troy to approve the appointments to the Salary Review Committee Board as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Too bad Brian wasn't here to defend himself.
That's what happens when you're not here.
Huh?
That's what happens when you're not here.
You're right. I have a couple of executive sessions. The first one would be for land acquisition.
Mr. Mayor, I have been advised we probably only need 5 minutes, not 15 for this one,
Okay,
which,
I need to make it 10 minutes. then.
Okay,
If you need
there
it
we
for
go.
5, I need it for 10. How's that?
Mr. Mayor?
Sounds good.
Troy?
Make a motion to recess an executive session for preliminary discussions related to the acquisition of real property per KSA 75-4319B6, sessions to include governing body, city administrator, community development director, and city attorney, and resume an open session in approximately 10 minutes.
Second.
Motion by Troy, second by CR to go in land acquisition executive session as requested. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, council, I need a motion to come out of executive
Love those
session.
grandkids more.
So moved.
I never see pictures of us.
Second.
A motion by CR, second by Troy to come out of executive session. Further discussion. In favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the administrative adjustments to the right-of-way and easement for the properties at 126 South Andover Road and 330 South Andover Road.
Second?
Motion by Troy, second by CR to make the administrative adjustments to the acquisition of right-of-way, the two aforementioned properties on Andover Road. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 16.2, we do need another quick executive session. Somebody be so kind to call that for attorney-client privilege.
I will. Is it for 15 minutes? Is that appropriate? Yeah? Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to recess into executive session for consultation with the city attorney pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2, which will be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. The session is to include the governing body, city administrator, and the city attorney. The open meeting will resume in 15 minutes.
Motion by Troy, second by CR to go in executive sessions for attorney-client privilege as stated. Further discussion. In favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion by Greg, second by CR to come out of executive session. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I guess we were down to member items. Caroline, would you like to start us off?
Well, just everybody have a safe and happy Halloween. I think it's going to be a cold one. Dress warm.
Short.
Two quick things. One is that early voting in person starts Thursday, and in Andover, it's at the Catholic Church, St. Vincent. And then second would be the chamber added, was it 4 new chamber board directors?
Yeah, and they'll start in January.
Yeah. We have 4 new board directors starting in January for the Andover Chamber. Very exciting.
Oh, is that new additional members or replacement
No,
members?
replacement.
Okay.
CR.
No items.
No items.
Mike?
I have a few things. I want to thank the fire department for helping the Booster Club out for doing their golf ball drop. And that was put on Twitter and I think Facebook. And did you see any of those? Yes. Well, that was pretty cool. So, and they rigged up the rope on how to let the balls out. And so that was a really cool idea that they did. And we had one that fell in, and the winner of the $500 actually donated all the $500 back to the golf team, so which was pretty cool. So another thing is I want to congratulate my son Bridger at 8 o'clock tonight, which was 17 minutes ago. He won the VIPE Fan Choice Wichita Area Defensive Back of the Wichita area. So he had like 15,000 plus votes, and the second person behind him had 10,000. So I want to congratulate him for doing that. That's pretty cool. Third thing here is Andover Central football is in the playoffs, and they're 7-1, and their first playoff game is this Friday night at District Stadium, so if you're around, please go to it. Also, soccer was tonight, first round of playoffs, 15-1, is that right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how that turned out, but I'm hoping they won. And last thing is the girls' tennis team went to state, and they didn't win, but they did a good job. And the last thing, the girls' golf team also went to state. So they did well, but they didn't, finish in the top. But I just want to congratulate them as well.
All right.
I would point out, Mr. Mayor, Becky stayed for our whole meeting, and I do have an announcement related to Halloween being cold. They have decided, and they're going to announce publicly tomorrow, that they're going to move Safe Halloween indoors inside St. Vincent de Paul. So if you know people that are looking to do something warmer and actually show off those costumes the little kids are so excited about, and then you cover them up with coats and you can't see them. So inside 4 to 6 p.m. St. Vincent de Paul Thursday night, and the chamber sponsors that nice community event.
Excellent. The only thing I have to say is, obviously, we have an election. Vote early, vote often.
Oh my goodness.
I think it's odd, actually, that we have this large number of candidates. Obviously, all the incumbents are here this evening, but none of the people running for any of these positions have bothered to attend any council meeting that I'm aware of. Since they declared to run, so hopefully there'll be some continuity, I guess, to what's going on here with people that are informed of what's going on here. So I don't have anything else. Does anybody?
Well stated.
All right. Well, let's get out of here.
I agree.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Motion by Troy and second by Caroline. Further discussion. In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?